Hi, me again. It is Friday, June 13 at 10:27 p.m. Excuse me, I'm just sitting here in front of the computer and thoughts racing through my head. And, seeing things, the news clips and various interviews of politicians, news media, activists, the usual morons. And, things get in my mind and I have to say something before I bust. So let's talk about Los Angeles. Maybe you heard on the news there's some stuff going on out there. But not to worry, it's mostly peaceful. Of course, that mostly peaceful sentiment's moving around the different cities throughout the country. Who didn't see that coming? One of the things that, as always, fascinates me about liberals is what they say and what they actually do. And then compare what they said last week to what they say this week. They don't usually match up. So one has to wonder, do they really not see the dichotomies that they create for themselves, or do they just not care? Because they count on the goldfish-like memory or attention span of the average American. Now, one of I don't know if I'd call it a benefit or not, it's like common sense. One of the problems with having common sense is that you have to deal with so many people who don't have it and the frustration that goes with that. Well, being as old as I am now, I've lived through a couple of different eras. I've seen changes. I've seen things that a lot of people born in the last 20 to 30 years haven't seen, aren't familiar with. If I tried to talk about them, they would look at me like I was crazy. How did that happen? What do you mean? When did that occur? Telling people, well, when I was your age, my telephone was attached to the wall and I had to sit next to the telephone to talk to somebody, as opposed to, cell phone and going wherever you want and talking on it and frying your brain with the radiation coming from it. But, they look at you like you had to sit next to the phone. You mean it was attached with a cord? That's crazy. I remember when doctors were neighborhood doctors. Some of you may remember that. And they actually cared about making you healthy. Sorry. And they cared about making you healthy, if that meant, telling you to change your lifestyle or eat a certain diet or not necessarily take the drugs that are being thrown at you. Then you could count on the doctor to tell you the truth. They knew you. Chances are they helped deliver you in the hospital. They knew your name. You weren't just a code number to them. So, when you grow up with that and you see the way things used to be done and now moving forward, you see what the future has brought us. Yes, technologically we've advanced quite a bit, but as far as humanity is concerned, have we? I would argue not. But again, I've seen things over the years. I remember things. Now, you may say, well, you can look it up and verify. Yeah, I could, but my brain still works. So I can remember things that I've seen and heard. Now, some of you may remember this. You may be old enough to recall when we were headed for the next ice age. Remember the Life magazine cover? Remember, Time? Remember the newspapers telling us how we were headed for the next ice age in the next 10 to 15 years? Of course, that changed when that didn't sell. Then they had to switch it to global warming, and when global warming didn't work, then they changed it to global climate change. So I remember that transition, that evolution, if you will, of how they tried to get at you, and if one thing didn't work, they try something new. Well, another thing I remember, and some of you may well remember this. Remember when liberals wanted to cut back on the United States population? Not the world. I know Bill Gates is working on that, so you don't need to worry about the world population. Gates has that under control. But the U.S. population, and what was one of the reasons, or what were among the reasons they gave us for wanting to depopulate or control the population in the United States? They wanted to set a limit and try to achieve that and not go above it. Now, how you would do that, they certainly presented their ideas. I don't know how you would enforce it, though, but they're liberals. They don't think things through, as the title of this video would indicate. They just say, oh, this would be a cool idea. Well, how would you make that work? Well, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. All right, so we want to depopulate. We want to limit the population of the United States. Excuse me. And among the reasons were resources. We didn't have the resources to continue to grow. You got to feed people, provide them with housing. Well, people don't have a right to housing, although the liberals will tell you that. They think you have a right to everything. But, if people want to live in a house and they can afford to buy a house, then you have to build the house. So you need materials for that. So there you go, your forests. We're going to have to cut down trees, right? The more people you have, the more food you need. Where are we going to grow all this food? How are we going to feed everybody? Jobs. People need jobs, right? Well, what if there aren't enough jobs for all the people? How are you going to take care of them? Because they certainly can't take care of themselves. I mean, that's another trademark of the liberals. You are not capable of doing for yourself, so they have to do it for you. Therefore, you should give them money and power so they can take care of you, because you are incompetent and incapable. What else? The climate change. The more people you have, the bigger your carbon footprint. How in the world are we going to be able to keep climate change in control, aside from spraying crap in the air and all the other things they want to restrict and limit you to, if we have too many people? See, anybody else remember that? If you do, then just, in the comments, tell me. If you don't, mention it in the comments as well. But I'm sure some of you do. Anyway, we need to depopulate. But now, these same liberals who wanted earlier to depopulate because we didn't have the resources for more people, now they want anyone and everyone who wants to come into the country, especially if they're already here, legally or not, doesn't matter, especially the illegal immigrants. Well, let them in. Doesn't matter. Come on in. This is America. By God, we'll take anybody. Give me you're poor, you're tired, you're yearning to be free, blah, blah, blah. You've heard the story. Anyway, so 15, 20 years ago, we need to depopulate. We have too many people. We don't have the resources. We have to do something to stop this madness. Now, let them in. They're only here to find a better life. Well, how are they going to find a better life if we don't have the resources to provide everything they need? Man, I tell you what. There are just times, days, people, you see someone, you hear someone, you just want to grab them by the scruff of the neck and slap the shit out of them. And how can you be so damn stupid? Do you ever think? Do you ever think things through to logical conclusions? Well, of course, that's a silly question because there is no logic with liberals. It's all about how it makes them feel. Well, I feel better when we do that. It would make me feel better if we just allowed anyone in who wants to come in. Oh, by the way, you, Mr. and Mrs. Native Born American, you better wear your mask and get your shots. But the people coming across the border willy-nilly with no vetting, with no effort or ability to check them out and find out who they are, they don't have to do all that. They can come on in. What's that you say? Measles is on the increase in certain areas of the country? Well, I wonder how that happened. I'm sure it didn't have anything to do with people coming across the border without being checked out. But that's what we have to deal with. And again, it's frustrating to me because at my age, having lived as long as I have, having seen and experienced the things that I have, I look around me and I see other Americans who just, I don't see what the problem is. Why are you so upset? So people are burning Los Angeles to the ground. Big deal. Actually, that's what I feel about it. Big deal. It's Los Angeles. Let it burn. Excuse me. So once again, we're met with, the Democrats, the liberals. They can't find anything bad to say about people burning down their cities. But those of us who think they should come into the country legally, follow the rules, do what others before them have done to get in here the proper way. We're the bad guys. Say, we're the tyrannical kings, if you will. I just wish some people would stop for a brief moment. Maybe they think it's harder than it really is to just think things through, to apply critical thinking and logic. Thank you, Department of Education, for doing such a great job of educating the last couple of generations and teaching them how important thinking is, as opposed to rote memory, as opposed to just parroting the bullshit that your teachers have told you, that the politicians tell you, that the news media tells you. By all means, don't think for yourself. Don't apply logic. Just do what you're told and you'll be taken care of. So anyway, I just needed to get that off my chest. I don't know if it's going to make any difference. It's one of the things I've tried to point out. I've posted it in a couple of places. The video from Minneapolis, Minnesota, back during the COVID hoax, where Tim Walz, who currently is screeching like a little bitch about, oh, Trump is a tyrant. We don't like tyrants. We don't want tyrants, blah, blah, blah. Except that it was Tim Walz who was sending the National Guard in Minnesota and the local police down the streets to make people stay in their homes. And you've seen the video. It's on my page currently, where the police are shooting people with paintball guns. Now, no, it doesn't kill you, but if you've ever been hit with a paintball, it does sting. And there's the principle of the matter. These people that they're shooting were not setting cars on fire. They were not looting local stores. They were not throwing bricks at the police. They were standing on their front porch wondering why the National Guard and police departments were walking down their neighborhood streets. I mean, if you looked out the window and you saw a couple of Humvees and police cars and policemen on foot walking down your street, would you go out on the front porch and look and say, well, what the hell's going on here? Your curiosity wouldn't get the better of you. So they're standing on their front porches looking and wondering what's going on. and the police are yelling at them, "Get back in your house." And when they didn't move fast enough, you hear somebody say, "Light them up." And then they start pointing paint guns at them and shooting them. And you hear people, the girls screaming because they're getting hit with the paintballs. And like I said, they can sting. They're not going to kill you, but they sure hurt sometimes. But that's not tyranny. No, because Tim Walz did it. A Democrat, a liberal, said it was okay. And here's where I get in trouble with my right-wing friends, because you're not supposed to ever question what the police do. If you do, well, then you're a bad guy. No, those heroes in blue were all too willing to follow those orders. You remember the police, the guys who swore an oath to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But they don't mind following orders. Even, if you're going to church, you're gathering in a church for your usual Sunday meeting, and COVID is going on. And the police come in and say, "Nope, sorry, can't do it." Police chief, the mayor, governor, whoever said, "You can't be here, you can't gather, so we're going to have to arrest them. We're going to have to run you all home." I'm sorry, folks, for the phone going off here. And we're just following orders. Well, I have a problem with that. I would hope that you have a problem with that. And stop talking about any person or group of people like they're above reproach. You're not supposed to question them or their actions and what they do. Well, they're the police. They're your friends. They care about you. They're here to protect you. Are they really? I don't think so. I think they're here to follow orders and do what their boss, who signs their paycheck, tells them to do. Upton Sinclair once said, and I know I'm going to mess this quote up, "It is difficult to get a man to understand something when not understanding it means he gets his paycheck." I know I'm paraphrasing there. But yeah, well, my boss told me I got to do this. I know I'm violating your rights. I know it's not upholding the Constitution. But if I don't do it, I get fired and I don't get a paycheck. Folks, there's a lot going on around you. There's a lot of tyranny coming at you from all directions. But you've been propagandized just like the left has done to their people. And you've been told, "No, you're not supposed to question that." Oh, another one's going on right now. Don't you dare. Don't you dare say anything about the military having to save money and cut spending. What, $600 toilet seat? What's the matter with you? Don't you like your military? Do you hate the military? No, I don't hate them. I just don't think we need to spend $600 on a toilet seat or $1,000 for a hammer. There are ways you can save money and cut spending in the military without harming soldiers, without harming our ability to protect our country. Oh, here's another one. We need to go help Israel. Really? I tell you what, why don't you send your young son and daughter over there? Yeah, because if you question that, there's another one for you. If you say, well, Israel has a right to defend itself, well, what the hell does that have to do with us? They already get $8 billion a year of our tax money. Now we got to send troops over there to help them? No. Let them fight their own battles. In fact, if the U.S. and our State Department would mind its own damn business and get out of their way, Israel can handle their business. But every time they get ready to do something, our government has to step in and say, "Oh, no, don't do that. If you do that, you'll mess up the efforts we've made to try to bring peace to the region." Just shut up, get out of their way, and let them handle business. But now I'm seeing people talking about, well, we may have to put boots on the ground. I'll be damned. If they can't fight their own battles, too bad. No more Israel. I don't live in Israel. I know I don't pay taxes there either, but that doesn't keep my taxes from going there. But that doesn't mean I have to offer up my children, or anyone else here in America has to offer up their children to go fight a war for another country. Haven't we had enough of that foolishness? How many more American soldiers have to die before people stop doing this crap? So I'm digressing a little here, but I don't know. I don't think there's a place for me anymore. I just don't, because I question too many things. And when you question stuff, the same people, right or left, who like to put you in boxes because it helps them understand better. They don't have to ask questions. They don't have to think about what you're saying. It's like, oh, he's a right winger, he's a Republican, he's a Democrat, he's a libertarian, whatever it may be. It makes it. I can understand that. I know what he's going to say. I know what he's thinking. Did you ask him any questions? Did you ask him why he thinks what he thinks? Well, no, I don't have to. He's a Republican. That's what they do. That's how they think. No, he's a Democrat. That's how they think. That's what they do. We need to start a new club, the Outsiders Club. See, I'm not about a political party. I don't give a damn what party you're in. I advocate for individual liberty. And our Constitution and our Bill of Rights were designed and set up for that. But no, we've gotten away from that a long time ago, haven't we? Anyway, so all you liberals out there right now who are in the news and screaming and hollering about, oh, tyranny, we can't have tyranny. Well, if Tim Walz is the one talking about it, Tim Walz needs to shut the hell up. That stupid little whiny bitch. He's just as much of a tyrant as Trump ever thought of being. Yeah. Ask the people who got hit with the paintballs in Minneapolis. What happened to you when you were standing out on your front porch? Well, I got shot at by my local police because I was standing on my front porch. Because I didn't run inside my house as soon as they told me to. I mean, seriously, people, you need to get your heads out of your collective asses and start thinking for yourself. Stop letting the political party tell you what you should think. If that makes me a bad guy, if that makes me wrong because I think for myself and I tell the party to kiss my ass, then fine. Call me a bad guy. I'll live with it. But that's what we're dealing with right now. And the people in Los Angeles and now it's spreading to other cities. I liked what I heard the sheriff in Brevard County, Florida say. You throw a brick at one of my guys, you set something on fire, you block the road and get in front of people, surround their car, you know what's going to happen. And that's as it should be. But, of course, now he's the bad guy. You can't say that. Well, why not? If I'm driving down the street, minding my own business, my wife and I are going to see a movie, whatever it might be, and I come up to an intersection and there's a bunch of dumbasses standing around with signs and protesting, whatever. I don't care what they're protesting. But they think they have some right, because they're protesting, to surround my car and start beating on it and threatening me. And they don't even know me. I haven't said one thing to them. I'm just sitting at a stoplight so I don't get a ticket. But they think they can intimidate somebody? No. Mm-mm. I know this is on YouTube. It could come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm just going to tell you, because anybody that knows me knows if somebody tries that shit with me, they can be scraping you up off the pavement. I don't go out of my way to hurt other people. I don't bother other people. But if you want to come at me, you better be prepared for what's coming after. So we've got to stop playing games. Stop thinking you have to be nice. And Tim Walz, kiss my ass, you tyrannical son of a bitch. You think you can do it just because you're a good liberal. Screw you. You and anyone who thinks like you. So, anyway. Well, I'm feeling much better now. Okay, that's it for me. Enjoy your weekend.